Introspection. Oxford Dictionary defines introspection as the examination or observation of one's own mental and emotional processes. And I will be doing this throughout the presentation today. So you can expect to see a little bit of introspection with maybe just a dash of incivility and maybe just a pinch of self-pity presented on top of a heaping pile of rant. And you're probably wondering what I'm going to be ranting about. Well, that'll come a little bit later in the presentation. So yeah, you're going to have to stick around to find out. But in the middle of this rant, you are going to have the opportunity to be my Rod Tidwell.
God, help me! Help me, Rod. Help me! Help you. Help me. Help you. Help me. Help you.
So, go grab your party favors because you're invited to the first ever Office of the Patriot Pity Party. Hello, and welcome to the Office of the Patriot. In this office, I try to make sense out of the nonsense of the progressive left, and I'm not doing this shit today. Today's episode isn't about what's going on politically or socially with the left or the right or who said or did what to who. It's about what's going on right here at the Office of the Patriot. However, in order to do this, I need to go back in time before the Office of the Patriot ever existed. So I can explain how and why the Office of the Patriot came to be. As many of you know, I am a retired California State Parole agent. I started my career in 1988 with the now defunct California Department of Corrections, before it bastardized itself into the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, as if adding the word rehabilitation to CDC somehow makes prisons more compassionate. Idiots. Before that, I was in the United States military. I started that part of my life in 1984 through 1988. My whole life has been, well, based on structure. Because before that, my father was in the Air Force and I lived much of my younger years on military bases. So these types of organizations, law enforcement and military, in fact, anything with a hierarchical structure wasn't foreign to me. It was comforting. I knew where I stood, and more often than not, at the start, it was at the back of the line. But I was fine with this because I also knew that I had something else a lot of people didn't have. That was drive and the desire to always be right. Pardon the pun. And those two things were part of the reason for Office of the Patriot. But I don't want to put the cart before the horse, so I'll just stay in the past for right now. Working in law enforcement exposes you to the excrement of humanity day in and day out. And after working in this and around this for 30 years, I learned a couple of things. First, there was no way in hell I was going to work in anything remotely similar to law enforcement post-retirement. Hell to the no. Next, whatever I chose to do to keep myself busy post-retirement had to be fun. And what do I consider fun? Well, I enjoy a good happy hour as much as the next guy, but there's not a lot of paying positions for that. I also enjoy racing, but that too is hard to come by. I found that I'm pretty good at teaching, and I do enjoy it. I was the intern coordinator for Fresno State University's Criminal Justice Department while I was a parole agent, and that was a really cool gig. So before I retired, I went back to school. I got my master's degree so I could schlep my CV, and that's the abbreviation for curricula vitae, which is just the way academics say resume, to numerous post-secondary institutions. And that too is pretentious academic speak for colleges and universities. And that was a good decision because right after I retired, I secured a teaching gig with a trade school called UEI. Definitely not the ideal teaching gig, but since it was my first teaching gig, I really can't complain too much. The experience of teaching a classroom with a bunch of students who don't have the first idea about criminal justice and are social justice warriors was an enlightening experience. And given that UEI treats its instructors like children, Every iota of the curricula was presented to us so we could present it to the students. They didn't want our input. And that made it a good thing because it prepared me for my real teaching gig, my first community college job as a criminal justice instructor. In fact, I still have this job today. The problem here is that I was hoping for more classes, and after working in this job for 5 years now, I think, I'm still relegated to one. I'm thankful and I am blessed, but I knew that this wasn't going to be enough to keep me busy, and I still wanted more income to be able to do the fun stuff while retired. Traveling with my wife, visiting my kids who are all adults now, and racing. Yeah, that's me in my 2007 Ariel Atom, aka Captain Proton.
And I must be honest here. I love driving it. It is so choice. If you have the means, I highly recommend picking one up. Thank you. Yes, sir. Mint.
Now we're getting to the idea of the Office of the Patriot. Since I'm not making any income at teaching, or what I'm not making the income I was hoping for, rather, I decided to start a political and social YouTube channel. It's like teaching, right? I mean, how hard can it be? So after deciding on the name, purchasing the computer, the software, all the peripherals, and then watching countless hours on YouTube on how to make a successful YouTube channel, I was ready, or so I thought. Talking in front of a camera is a hell of a lot harder than I thought it would be. In fact, my first few takes prior to publishing my first episode were, well, absolutely horrendous. I learned quickly that you can't convince people that you know what the hell you're talking about when every other word is I sounded like one of my damn parolees trying to explain why he had his fifth dirty test for meth. And I don't know how I got in my pocket because these aren't my jeans. And, I had the pipe in my hand and, well, I just started smoking it, yeah. This take resulted in my first lesson, writing a damn script. And that helped, but regurgitating a script in a smooth, flowing, methodical way takes a lot of practice. I was under the impression that my experience as a lecturer could be easily adapted to social media presentations. Again, not entirely correct, as you can see in my earlier videos. Many of the earlier episodes are spliced together, and while the information is sound, I feel like I'm watching someone talk with a stick up their ass who really wants to get from behind the camera so they can retrieve it. Yeah, it's kind of harsh, but no one said introspection was going to be easy. But as time moved on, I began to get a little bit more comfortable in front of the camera and a little bit more thorough in my research. In the early months of Office of the Patriot, friends and family were the primary audience. However, I actually started acquiring people I didn't know. Success. But that was short-lived because as I was acquiring new views, YouTube was stealing them and then throttling my channel. They still are. The only way you can find my channel using the YouTube search engine is to type in the channel name in its entirety. Miss a letter, you won't get my channel. Add a letter, you won't get my channel. Misspell it, and you'll get about, 30 links for the movie The Patriot with Mel Gibson. I've sent email after email asking why this is happening, and I have not received one response from the stink wrinkle plebes at YouTube. For those of you who are not aware, this is the rant part of the presentation. YouTube carries the market share for social media video production, and because they are run by leftist quacks, I'm shadow banned and throttled even before I can gain any momentum. This is the pity part of the presentation. I've put thousands of hours and dollars into these presentations via research, scripts, writing, filming, editing, uploading, along with marketing on other social media accounts, and all I've earned thus far is this. That's right, 8 cents. This has been the longest and most expensive internship I'm aware of, and it pisses me off. Though I'm not completely discouraged because the Office of the Patriot does do other things for me. As I said before, I will not do anything that I do not enjoy doing, and I really do enjoy all the work behind the Office of the Patriot. Because if I didn't have this rather, this is likely what would occupy my idle time.
74 years old, 4 months. Peter Navarro on his way to prison, speaking on his way there. All right, meanwhile, right now, President Biden is on his way to two crucial battleground states out west. Biden will
Don't come over here, motherfucker.
today. He
Don't come over here. You have no business over here.
Trump in both.
Yeah, I still yell at the TV when moronic leftists are lying and debasing themselves for clicks, but not as often. So I guess you can say the Office of the Patriot is somewhat therapeutic. Some of you are probably wondering whether or not this is a fond farewell episode. It isn't. As I said, I have drive and desire to always be right, so fuck you, YouTube. I also know that there is room for personal and professional improvement, and that's where you come in. I'd like you to watch some of my older videos and maybe move through to some of the newer ones, and then give me your honest impressions and suggestions for the show. Now, I know I'm opening myself up to the leftist troll nation who are itching to hurl insults my way, and honestly, I could give two shits. Because this video isn't for them. It's for the audience members who have stood by me and for maybe a few new ones who are still out there. I have a few new ideas that I will be implementing over the next few weeks, or next few episodes rather, to try to spice things up and get a few laughs or two. I don't know. The main premise behind the Office of the Patriot is and always was to provide my perspective on social and political topics, and that's not going to change. Because yelling into a teleprompter seems just a little bit more sane than yelling at the TV. This concludes today's presentation of Office of the Patriot. If you enjoy the content, please take the time to like, subscribe, and share my channel on your social media. It is appreciated. Also, please take the time to comment. Engagement is the major metric social media platforms like YouTube employ in their search algorithms. The more people that like and comment, the more my channel will come up when social and political content like mine is searched for. And as always, have a blessed day. Stay safe out there.